Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome back. Welcome back. Today we are going to be reacting to Gothix. A lot of you guys said that I should check her out. So today, that's what we're going to do. I don't really like reacting to, not so much other YouTubers, because it's kind of iffy because, of course, I'm reacting to all this stuff with Thomas Sowell and now Walter E. Williams. But those are, but the clips are mostly used from like old, old shows, or like old actual live. It was like more public, like more so old footage. But with YouTube and like other content creators, it's kind of weird, like kind of reacting to their own kind of work. It's cool that we can. It's just kind of like I don't know. I might feel a little bit different about it after I actually react to it. But I don't know. It's just a kind of like a stigma of kind of just sitting and reacting to someone else's work. But I know, regardless of how I feel about it, you guys wanted me to check it out, so I'm listening to you guys. Nevertheless, white privilege is a crutch. Now I do now again, well, not again, but I don't know Gothix. Like I said, I'm just reacting to this because you guys wanted me to. A lot of you guys said I should also check out her. It was kind of like a novelization. Deceit. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it was uploaded at time of recording this. It was uploaded a week ago. A TLDR visual of color, communism and common sense. Okay, so I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna check that one out as well. But so far, white privilege is a crutch. Yes, I do believe that. The whole notion of white privilege, in my belief, is kind of stupid. I don't know Gothix. I don't know her politics. She may just be a free thinker. That's cool. But the fact that she's making a video like this obviously kind of tells that she's a free thinker. But yeah, man, white privilege is. I wouldn't say it's a myth. White privilege did exist at one time, but look at the culture nowadays. Like people, like companies are having to have like quotas to have a certain amount of races in each building. Well, not each building, but like in every business. Like they have a quota of blacks and trans and Asians and all this other bullshit. Like what kind of white privilege? If there was white privilege, really, like why would any other black people, why would any other Asian people, why would any other any race that's not that's not white, why would there even be jobs for them? That's just my opinion. I don't know how white privilege really exists nowadays. I don't know. Some people still think, yeah, it exists, but like they can't tell you exactly how. They just say, oh, white privilege, systemic racism. Like, okay, but tell me how, and I'm willing to listen. That's it. But they never do. They just sit there and say, oh, no, we're white people, they have all the power, they have all the power. Well, white people have, no, I can't really say that. It makes no sense. But white people are like the majority of the United States of America. I think they're like what, 60% of the population, if not more, if not less, somewhere in between there. So of course they're gonna have most of the shit. So I don't know. But then you kind of use the argument of saying, oh, white people, the only reason why they're in those buildings, and the only reason why they're rich is because they profited off the slaves, man, off the fucking slaves, man, and it's not right, man. Okay, so let's use that. Let's say, okay, all these business people, they profited off slaves way back. So you're saying that people that were born after the Emancipation Proclamation, after the 13th Amendment, people who kind of inherited that wealth, you're saying they should give all that back, even though they had nothing to do with slavery and they're not racist? Think about it. If a black person really wants to become successful, they can in America. They can be a CEO of any place. So you're really saying that by the fact that these people have inherited all these wealth from slaves, you're saying that they should give it all back because black people are inferior and they can't, they can't teach themselves how to rise up to that level. They can't teach themselves to build generational wealth. They can't teach themselves to, actually become rich and have their own business. Man, that's kind of racist. That's kind of fucked up. That's like kind of that inherently is racist. Like, see, these are the people that say they want to help black people, but you're saying black people, in the same sentence too, you're saying that black people are so dumb and incompetent that we have to, be held by the hand and like walk through, in this race of life. Let's run our own fucking race, bro. Like, I don't know, man. These are the people that are truly racist. You're saying that black people are so stupid and dumb that they can't, lift themselves up and they can't rise to the challenge of becoming their own boss and CEO of companies. That these white people, these millionaires, billionaires, they have to give it all away because they're like, oh, well, black people, they're never going to achieve anything. They're so stupid and dumb. Let's just give them the money so they can be quiet. That in itself is racist. But hey, let's check out Gothix.
Targeting an ethnic group with a collective crime is inexplicable. If I were
Wow,
to
her skin is
reverse the
amazing.
notion that white people have privilege because of their skin color, would that mean that black people automatically
I mean,
are
it's just like
oppressed
it's
because of their
glowing.
skin
I don't know.
color?
It might be just the
Hi,
the
my
actual
name is Gothix,
ring
and
light.
today
I
we're
don't know.
tackling one of the most requested topics on this channel. So again, if you have a suggestion for a future video, leave it in the comments below. So, white privilege. This is a term that I personally find nauseating. I would
Me
love
too.
nothing more to see it just disappear out of existence entirely. The concept does nothing beneficial for anyone. So, I'm gonna break it down to you, and I know that I'm gonna get a lot of angry comments from other black folks who are maybe gonna try to attempt to educate me on racial injustice and how whites have it easier in that regard. But I'd please ask you to first check out my video on critical thinking before typing up an angry response that YouTube may automatically delete anyway. That algorithm though, it's very interesting. With that being said, let's get into this. So, I find that a lot of people who use white privilege to rationalize their life experiences are actually experiences rooted in culture or social class. So, for example, if a black person goes on an interview and gets passed up on a job over a white person who may have the same qualifications, one might argue, well, that's clearly white privilege. But if I told you that the black person during the interview was talking like this, I would say that that's more something rooted in culture rather than race.
Right, you have
Here's
to
another
be
example.
professional.
Let's say a white person and a black person committed the same crime, but only the black person got sent to prison. One might say, well, that's obviously white privilege. But if I told you that the white person had a better lawyer, that would be something rooted in economic privilege.
Right,
The
you
usual
can
response
afford it.
that I get is, well, black people make less money on average because they lack opportunities. And I would actually argue that a lot of white people have been very accommodating with entertaining this idea of white privilege and lack of opportunities in this regard. So what opportunities, you may ask? Well, let me give you some examples. So how about white voice actors who step down from their role to allow black voice actors to
like
take
Big
that
Mouth.
role instead? Mainly when a
In what,
white
Family
person
Guy?
is voicing a character that is illustrated as a black person, despite the literal definition that acting is to pretend to be something that you're not. Here's another example. Incentivize diversity quotas.
I like her
or
already.
affirmative action,
I like her
where
already.
More qualified individuals could get passed up on an opportunity to make room for black people, which, if I may give my 2 cents on this topic for just a quick second, if a company needed to be incentivized in order to hire a minority, why would I want to work there anyway? Or what does that say about myself? Does incentivize diversity imply that I'm not smart enough to get the position on my own? I'm honestly very perplexed why so many minorities are infatuated with the brown versus white employment ratio. If I don't get offered a position, the first thing I do is to consider what qualification I was lacking versus the company is just racially biased. Here's another example that touches just within the creator creator space. I've been seeing a lot of new or inexperienced black content creators who use the lack of representation argument to finesse opportunities or free merchandise from companies. This annoys me as well as many other black content creators who work hard to highlight our talent rather than using our skin color as a crutch. Personally, I find the act of working with a creator based on their skin color rather than their talent actually hurts the infrastructure of the industry. Let me explain this. The primary reason a company decides to work with an influencer is because of ROI, or return on investment. If a company chooses to work with a black influencer that has 300 followers versus a white influencer that has 30,000 followers, would that company really be getting a return on investment? I also think this behavior encourages mediocrity, as the creator may not feel it's necessary to improve their craft because to them, these opportunities imply that they made it. I mean, think about it for a second. Why bother fine-tuning your craft if you can just skip all the hard work and complain about white privilege? Moving on, I think it's ignorant to suggest that white privilege is the only privilege. There are varying levels of privilege depending on who you are. What about black privilege? The privilege to call someone racist and not feel an obligation to prove that racism, or the privilege to say all of my problems are because of white supremacy and no one challenge you to elaborate on that claim. I think that's pretty privileged in itself. For those of you that don't know, I actually co-host a podcast here on YouTube called Subtweet This, and we actually just finished up a great conversation that could tie into this topic. Take a look. I've listened to a lot of your music, and it seems that you have like a lot of messages that pertain to like self-accountability. So is that something that you're trying to strive to like get that message out to your audience?
That's like probably the most important thing of everything that all the topics that I cover: self-reliance, responsibility, because it's something that in this day and age, not just due to politicians, but due to the education system, where being an individual and being responsible for your actions is something that is put by the wayside. And this is why a lot of people adopt the economic philosophies that they adopt the social policies that they adopt, because it rids them of the responsibility. And me personally, I just think that's for losers. The first thing that I look at, even if there is a wrongdoing, I'm looking at, okay, what did I do to put myself in that situation for this person to even do me wrong or me to be done wrong? Because I think that's empowering.
So would you say like that a lot of people suffer from a victim mentality where they have to constantly go, I'm in this position because of
that
other
person?
People.
Absolutely, and it's because it's an easy position to have.
Bro, I need to check out these podcasts, bro.
Blame on everybody else or every other thing aside the white man across the corner or something like that. When you can do that, it's a very easy position to adopt, because there's no responsibility, there's no accountability to your actions. You can always place blame on someone. It's a very easy position to adopt, and that's why a lot of folks do tend to adopt that, and they don't, because though it's liberating, with freedom comes responsibility. You know what I mean? And a lot of people they actually shy away from that idea, because they come to that realization that, well, my actions are the biggest, primary, more so determinant of where I am going to be in life. That a lot of people are just scared of that sort of responsibility, so they adopt more victimhood. It's like, all right, well, who can I blame? Well, the white man, this type of person. It's unfortunate because those people, like, there's obviously probably being politicians who gain control over people's lives, being predatory in that regards. This idea that, okay, you are a victim, let me come save you.
Fucking ads, bro. Ooh, looks like some good coffee though.
At the end of the day, if I were to acknowledge white privilege, I would still be responsible for my own life. It wouldn't change my circumstances, and certainly me acknowledging white privilege wouldn't benefit me in any way. Now, if a white person were to acknowledge their privilege, I find it usually does one or two things. It could make the person feel proud or superior to black people, which I find a little bit counterproductive if we're talking about white supremacy. The notion of white privilege would just further reinforce reinforce that idea. On the other hand, it could also make a white person feel guilty or ashamed simply because they were born. And if a black person were to acknowledge white privilege, I find that it usually does one thing and one thing only. It cultivates victimhood, a mindset that continues to reject the concepts of perseverance, resilience, and self-accountability. And that's all I gotta say about that. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want more content like this. And of course, if you have a suggestion for a future video, let me know in the comments below. My name is Gothix, and I'll see you on the flip side.
I said the same thing. Okay, man, that was cool. I like her. I like her. Let me give her a like. What more can you say, man? What more can you freaking say? I mean, that's the only two outcomes from white privilege. Either you think that you're honestly better and superior than another race, or you feel inherently guilty. Which, like, why would and no one should feel guilty about being the way that they are. You know, that shit leads to, you know, depression, anxiety, maybe even suicide. Like, why would, like, this shit hurts more than it helps. Again, even I can say that, yeah, maybe back in the 50s, 60s, like back then, maybe there were white privilege. Obviously, the whites wanted, you know, the kind of, I mean, not really want, but how can I put this? Whites wanted to mostly just hire other whites, you know, but I mean, at some point in time, even that is not good for business. Even when they had segregation, like, if you cut out a large majority of the population, even though blacks, let me see, I don't know the population of blacks back in those days. I know about right now, it's about what, 11, 12, 13% today. In the 50s, I can't speak on what I don't know. So I don't know the actual population of, you know, the blacks back then. But even, let's say if they were a bit higher, you know, let's just say about maybe 20%. If you cut out 20% of the population, business-wise, that's still gonna hurt you. So inherently, I mean, that's you have to look at it from that kind of aspect too. Like, it's just bad for business. But going back to the whole white privilege thing, I honestly don't think that, I mean, for me in my personal life, white privilege hasn't been an issue. I haven't met every job interview that I went to, either I did not get the job because I was not qualified enough. That's it. Like, that's mostly it. Every job interview that I didn't get the job, I just wasn't simply qualified enough. Like, that's it. When they ask, that's why they're so thorough on like resumes. You know, like, how much experience have you had in this, you know, area, in this section, blah blah. Some areas I've had like literally no experience. Some employers just aren't looking for that, and that does not mean that they are racist. It doesn't mean that they just prefer white people. It just means that they need someone who can actually fulfill that position and who has the best ability to do it. That's it. Like, that's it. And it's just so crazy. It's so irritating how people think that, you know, these companies, like, even some coworkers, well, even this one coworker I'm working with, basically, I'm not gonna put all her business out there, but long story short, she moved from one place to another because she couldn't get along with the manager, and said the manager was racist. But when I asked her, okay, how is she like racist and whatnot, she said because her manager made her work hard, and because the manager wanted her to do, you know, such and such and everything, and basically kind of, I guess, really just being a pain in the ass. And I'm listening to her, and I'm like, I don't know how to put this to you, but that's kind of what a manager is supposed to do. They're supposed to kind of be, you know, they're essentially a pain in the ass, and they're supposed to make sure you're doing everything that you're supposed to do. Because if the higher ups, if they get a complaint in the higher ups here, that shit is going to fall on management first. So, I mean, you can't really fault her for wanting to keep her job, because you're kind of, you know, I mean, and even I mean, and again, I work with her, so I know how she does things. So I mean, she's not the best. Even the place she's at now, she's catching the same, the same kind of treatment. And it's like, okay, maybe this isn't a manager thing. Maybe, just maybe this is on you. Maybe if you, I don't know, kind of improved on your work, like management wouldn't have to come down on you so hard. It's crazy, because a lot of these things aren't racism. A lot of these things aren't white privilege. It really comes down, especially nowadays, it really comes down to, okay, what am I doing? Like, you have to look and reflect on yourself, really. Like, okay, is my work up to par? Is this something that would satisfy me? Is this something that would satisfy others? Is this something that management would look at and say, hey, good job? If it's good on those fronts, then you shouldn't have a problem. Now, if you do, then okay, there may be some issues. But I mean, the same lady that she's having problem with now, like, of course we share the same manager. I don't have those issues with her, because at the end of the day, I'm getting paid, so I'm gonna do my work. I'm gonna do it to my best ability. Management never really comes to me. But she's been there only a couple weeks, and management has been on her ass constantly. So if management has been on your ass here, management has been on your ass at the other place you worked at, stop and reflect. Think just a smidge. Maybe it's not management. Maybe this has to do with me. Let me improve myself. Let me fix my work. Let's see what happens. But I don't know. That's all I gotta say. I will react to more Gothix, because I like her. Like, she's cute, But yeah, I can really tell, like, yeah, she's a free thinker. She's smart. She knows her shit. That podcast with Eric, and I don't know the other two. I'm about to check. I mean, matter of fact, let me see where's her podcast. Okay, yeah, the full episode's right there. Okay, I'm gonna check that out on my own time. But guys, oh shit, I have to get to work too. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. If you guys think I should react to anything else, let me know. It's been crazy. It has just been crazy. Thank you guys for all your support. And of course, if you guys would like to copy yourself some awesome merch like this, and like this, please check out firstwarrior.com and get yourself some incredible gear. Okay, guys, I have to get out of here. I am already late, so yeah, shit. Have a good one, guys. Take care, and bye-bye.